Hey guys, I've been away for a bit and want to get back into making videos. I've sort of fallen out of keyboard since then, consolidating a ton of what I had, so the channel's in a bit of a flux. Regardless, the last time I made one of these is back in 2018. A lot's changed with my setup since then, and I thought as keyboard enthusiasts you might find it at least a bit interesting. Oh, also, let me know if you want me to cover any of these in a separate video. This is probably going to be formatted like one of those videos with 1,000 affiliate links in the description, but that's just a coincidence. Starting with the desk itself, I have the Uplift V2 with white base and rubber wood top. Uplift kinda seems like the Raycon of standing desks in terms of their marketing, but I've been pretty happy with it. When I used desks from Technion and Costco, they had a ton of wobble when extended. This one feels secure. They threw in a balance board with the order, which I really liked, until all the layers started coming undone when the weather turned cold. I'll probably be able to fix it with some hot glue. This office chair I do intend on making a video about down the line. It's the Hayworth Fern. I was a little worried when I first got it, but I'm finding it to be more and more comfortable as time goes on. I have it in the silver leaf color with a polished aluminum base. It overall feels well built, except for the skinny armrest stem, which I'm worried about accidentally sitting on and breaking one day. Let's now move on to my computer. This guy is a Ryzen 7 1800X with a GTX 1070. I upgraded to the 1800X from a 4690K, which cut my render times by 75% and actually allowed me to work with 1080p 60fps videos without creating proxies. Now I don't really feel the need to upgrade for a long while. I actually bought the 1070 for about $230 on eBay shortly after making the previous setup video. That ended up being an excellent move in hindsight with the crazy GPU market, and also because I don't really play games a whole lot. All of this is enclosed in a low-key Ghost S1 with a 3D printed vertical mount I got from Etsy. Maybe I'll go to a 6700 XT or a 3070 whenever they drop to about $250 used. Now looking at audio, I've got an Edifier S880dB for speakers. 99% of the reason I got these in particular is because I like the way they looked. They sound good too, I guess. I don't know, I'm a normie. For headphones, I have the Hi-Fi Man Deva Pro, which is built like a toy but sounds alright, I guess. As an audio normie, I thought I wouldn't notice any difference between this and my WH-1000XM4, but when I gave it a comparison trying to decide whether to sell it, I started to get it a little, so it's still around. It gives me a ton of pain on the top of my head because apparently I'm a bit of a conehead. I don't really want to open the audiophile can of worms, so it's gonna stay as is. I'm using the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 3rd Gen as my audio USB interface, as well as DAC for my headphones. Going into it is the Rode NTG5 shotgun microphone mounted to a little stand behind my monitor. I previously had a Rode NT1A mounted to a mic arm, but it occurred to me that relative to the monitor, my talking position would always be the same anyway, so I moved it here. This NTG5 has a bit of a problem with interference. In an old stream it acted up and Rode said they couldn't fix it without the original proof of purchase, so as a second-hand buyer I was out of luck. I don't use this for live applications anymore though, so it's okay. Speaking of mic arm, I have the Rode PSA-1 Plus, which as far as I can tell is just a PSA-1 with a cover. I've repurposed it to hold onto a LED panel, which is great for getting some quick shots, and for just general use too. I previously used a fully beam lamp, which was great, but the narrow light source would light things in a slightly weird way. I think the bigger source creates a much more pleasing illumination. I want to potentially swap this out for a bigger and brighter panel, potentially with RGB. It could be a great option for lighting in video chats and for product shots. If you have any interesting panels that weigh less than 1.5 kilos, please let me know in the comments. For the monitor, I have a single LG 27GL83A, which is a 27-inch 144Hz 1440p IPS display. I used to use a 34-inch ultrawide, but turning my head for stuff got pretty tiring, so I'm generally in the small single display camp now. Sometimes when I want more space, I use Space Desk to have my laptop as a second screen wirelessly. Windows 10 and 11 have a built-in feature to cast screens, but I found the connection to be incredibly unreliable. Space Desk has been great so far. An advantage of Space Desk is that you can actually use the input in the laptop to control the desktop. So one way I use this is to have Spotify running on the laptop and changing songs with the touchscreen. Definitely recommend it if you have a laptop that doesn't get much use. The laptop itself is a Samsung Galaxy Book Pro I got on eBay for like $500. I might do a video on my laptop upgrade journey, but this guy has been generally satisfactory. It's super thin and the OLED screen is pretty nice. Now, when I'm feeling really excessive with screens, I might add a third screen using Super Display on Android. If I had more elaborate streams, the tinted display on this Surface Duo is just the right size to pretend to be a Stream Deck. These guys go on sale for $300 or so all the time, and it's a whole lot of fun to use. Not as a daily phone because of all the bugs, but as a small tablet to use around the house instead of your regular phone. I've also had great success running emulators on it. My day phone used to be the Galaxy S22, but I've joined the beta program for the Nothing phone, and that's been pretty good. Moving on to the small stuff, I've been using the XYZ TKO for a while now. It's plateless and is built with a mix of inks and Durox with some kind of white GMK set, I forget the name, and GMK Mr. Sleeves. I'm not going to review this because a friend made it, but I really like it. My mouse is a Logitech G305, which I bought when I was deep into Fortnite during the pandemic. Feels cheap and there's something rattling around in there, but it's relatively accurate and the battery lasts forever. Onto the really small stuff, this brick is the Anker 736 with 100 watt charging. This is apparently using some new tech, gallium nitride or something, that lets it handle a good bit of power while remaining small. This is also the only charger in the house that does super fast charging on the S22, which is kinda nice. This is gonna sound dumb, but this cable is the Baseus 100 watt, which I only got after Anker's 333 100 watt cables failed to charge the 2019 MacBook Pro and the Pixel 6 Pro, rapidly connecting and disconnecting. USB-C is kind of a mess, but I think it still beats proprietary cables. One last thing on this desk is this cute little pen from Tactile Turn. This guy is Cerakoted, which should be familiar to a lot of you. Moving on to production gear, a lot's changed since last time. My camera is the Panasonic Lumix G7 with a 14 to 42mm kit lens. I've been tempted to look at other lenses, but I think my needs are met for now. For macros, I use these cheap extender tubes that are kind of flaky but work okay. I still have the beat up to hell Manfrotto tripod, but also have the secondary newer tripod. If you want smooth pans, fluid head is what you're looking for. I have two C-stands, which are absolute overkill for what I'm doing, but it did open up a lot of flexibility in shots. Sometimes I mount my tripod head on it for top-down shots or during streams. Sometimes I set up a little tent with them to make a makeshift audio booth, and my big light definitely needs it. My big light is the Godox VL150 150 watt LED light. If you're like me and have never seen this style of light before, it's absolutely absurd how bright it gets. I made it with a 28-inch parabolic softbox, which gets the light in nice and diffuse. I have 3 different mics I choose from. For streams, I use the Rode NT1A solely for the reason that it's directional and has never failed spectacularly like the Rode NTG5. This one is a shotgun microphone that I got as a futile attempt to tune out car noise coming from Manhattan streets. I think it generally sounds better than the NT1A, so I do my voiceovers with this. Lastly, I have the $30 Behringer ECM 8000 measurement microphone. I covered this in the microphone comparison video, but the intention behind this is that this has a relatively flat frequency response, theoretically meaning it adds no color to the sound it hears. I use this for sound tests, however misleading that concept may be. Living in a small apartment, I can't really have this stuff set up and ready to go, so shooting is often a whole thing, and it takes me about an hour to get ready for a stream. When I'm streaming, the only additional piece of hardware I use is the Razer Ripsaw capture card. I output my camera's feed through HDMI, pass it into it, and it passes it into my computer. I also use this direct power battery replacement for the camera so that I don't run out of juice in the middle of the stream. I think this about wraps it up for my setup. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you'd like me to make a standalone video about anything in particular. I think I'm moving away from keyboards, but maybe getting back into publishing videos will sort of push me out of the rut. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video covering what I have left in the keyboard collection.